The emergency room lights turned my granddaughter's face a sickly yellow. Blood soaked through the hospital gown they'd wrapped around her thin shoulders. Her lips moved, barely a whisper, and I had to lean down close to hear. "It was Marcus," she breathed. "Marcus Whitmore," he said. "He said people like us exist to serve people like him." Then her eyes rolled back and the machine started screaming. "I'm 68 years old. I've cleaned the executive floors of Whitmore Industries in downtown Chicago for 38 years. I found Elena in the underground parking garage of their headquarters at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, crumpled between two luxury sedans, like a piece of trash someone had thrown away. If I hadn't stayed late to finish the 18th floor, if I hadn't taken the stairs instead of the elevator because my knees needed the movement, if I hadn't heard that small, broken sound she made, I don't let myself think about the ifs. The doctor came out 40 minutes later. "She's stable," he said, and I could breathe again. "But she's been through significant trauma. The police will need to speak with her when she wakes up." I nodded. But I was already thinking about something else. Someone else. Marcus Whitmore III, 34 years old, Stanford MBA, perfect teeth, perfect suits, perfect family pedigree going back 4 generations. The golden boy who took over as CEO 3 years ago when his father stepped down. The man my granddaughter had been working for as a junior analyst since she graduated Northwestern last spring. The man I'd been watching for 38 years, just like I'd watched his father before him and his grandfather before that. I called my sister Dorothy from the hospital cafeteria at 2 a.m. She answered on the second ring, voice sharp with worry. "It's time," I said. Dorothy was quiet for a long moment. Then, "You're sure?" Elena whispered his name before she passed out. "Marcus Whitmore did something to her. I don't know what yet, but—" My voice cracked. "Dot, I found her bleeding in their parking garage." "The journals," Dorothy said. It wasn't a question. "Yes. All of them. I'll be on the first flight from Boston. Don't move anything until I get there." I should probably explain about the journals. Our mother, Sarah Chen, started working for Whitmore Industries in 1962. Back then, it was called Whitmore Pharmaceuticals, and it was run by Marcus Whitmore Sr., the current Marcus's grandfather. Mama was 23, fresh off the boat from Hong Kong, and it was one of the few places that would hire a Chinese woman with broken English. They put her on the night cleaning crew. Invisible work for invisible people. But Mama was smart. Smarter than anyone gave her credit for. And she noticed things. She noticed when Theodore Whitmore, Marcus Sr.'s son, started bringing young women from the secretarial pool up to the executive suite late at night. She noticed the crying, the settlements, the sudden departures. She noticed the file boxes labeled testing results, confidential, that sometimes appeared in Theodore's office, and how the numbers in those reports didn't match the numbers that appeared in the FDA filings she saw on his desk. She noticed the offshore bank statements that Marcus Sr. sometimes left in his trash can, the shell companies, the falsified tax documents. Mama was a cleaner, but she could read English better than she spoke it, and she had something many people underestimated, a photographic memory and access to the copy machine in the supplies room. For 43 years, from 1962 until she retired in 2005, my mother copied documents. Not everything, just the important things, the incriminating things. She'd make one copy, return the original to exactly where she found it, and bring the copy home in her cleaning cart, hidden under dirty rags. She kept them in banker's boxes in her basement, organized by year and topic: tax fraud, drug testing scandals, sexual harassment cover-ups, environmental violations, labor law violations, safety regulation failures, bribery, witness intimidation, off-the-books payments to politicians and FDA officials. 43 years of evidence against 3 generations of Whitmores. "Why?" Dorothy had asked her once, when we were teenagers. "Why risk it? Why not just quit?" Mama had looked at us with those steady dark eyes. "Because someday," she said, "they will hurt someone who matters. And when that day comes, someone needs to have the proof." Mama died 6 years ago. Her funeral was small. Theodore Whitmore sent a flower arrangement and a card that said, "In appreciation for 4 decades of dedicated service." The irony would have made her laugh. Dorothy and I kept the journals. 37 banker's boxes, now stored in Dorothy's basement in Boston. We'd looked through them, of course. We understood what we had. But like Mama, we waited. Until now. Elena woke up the next afternoon. The police came. She told them everything in a voice that shook. Marcus Whitmore had called her to the office late Tuesday night, said there was an urgent report that needed reviewing. When she arrived, he'd assaulted her. When she tried to fight back, he'd beaten her and dragged her to the parking garage. He told me no one would believe me, she whispered. He said his family owns half this city. He said people like us are here to serve people like them, and if I reported it, he'd make sure I never worked anywhere again. He'd make sure my scholarship debt got called in. He'd destroy my family. The detective took notes. His expression was professionally sympathetic, but I saw the defeat in his eyes. He'd investigated rich men before. He knew how this would go. "We'll pursue charges," he said carefully. "But I want you to understand that cases like these can be difficult. The Whitmore family has extensive legal resources." That's when I spoke up. "What if there was other evidence? Evidence of a pattern of behavior?" The detective looked at me. "What kind of evidence?" "Everything," I said. 43 years of everything. Dorothy arrived that evening with 3 boxes. Just 3, to start. We met with the detective and his captain in a conference room at the hospital. Dorothy opened the first box. Sexual harassment settlements, 1,987 through 1,994, she said, pulling out a folder. Theodore Whitmore, Marcus's father, 18 separate incidents. All settled with NDAs and payouts from a Shell Corporation account. Here are the bank records. Here are copies of the checks. Here are the signed NDAs. She opened the second box. Drug testing fraud, 1,995 through 2003. Clinical trial results that were falsified to hide adverse effects. Bribes to FDA officials to fast-track approvals. 3 medications that were later recalled after deaths occurred. All the original test results are here. All the real numbers, before they were altered. The third box. Tax evasion, offshore accounts, falsified financial reports, 1,998 through 2009, both Marcus Sr. and Theodore Whitmore. Approximately $400 million hidden from the IRS. She looked up at the 2 officers. "We have 34 more boxes, 43 years of documentation." My mother was a cleaning lady at Whitmore Industries from 1962 to 2005. She witnessed everything. She documented everything. She kept everything. The captain's face had gone very still. You understand what you're showing us?" "Yes," I said. "I'm showing you that my granddaughter isn't the first person the Whitmore family has hurt. She's just the first one with proof." "Why did your mother collect all this?" the detective asked. "Because she knew that someday, someone would need it," Dorothy said simply. And she was right. The captain stood up. "I need to make some phone calls." By midnight, there were FBI agents in that conference room. By dawn, they had search warrants for Whitmore Industries headquarters, Marcus Whitmore's home, Theodore Whitmore's estate, and 3 offshore bank accounts. By that afternoon, federal prosecutors had opened investigations into tax fraud, securities fraud, FDA violations, and witness tampering spanning 4 decades. The morning after that, Marcus Whitmore was arrested at his home in Kenilworth. His father Theodore was arrested at his country club. His grandfather, Marcus Sr., 92 years old, was arrested at his Lake Forest mansion. The news called it one of the largest corporate fraud cases in Illinois history. They found more evidence, of course, once they started searching. Computer files, more documents. Witnesses who'd been silenced with money and threats began to come forward, seeing that someone was finally listening. The dam broke. But it was Mama's journals that started it all. 43 years of patient documentation by an invisible woman who knew that the truth, carefully preserved, becomes a weapon more powerful than any amount of money or influence. The trial took 14 months. Dorothy and I attended every day, sitting in the back row of the courtroom. We watched 3 generations of Whitmores try to lie their way out of the evidence. We watched their expensive lawyers object and argue and spin. But you can't spin away original documents in your own handwriting. You can't explain away bank records and canceled checks and FDA reports with your signature on them. You can't intimidate witnesses when there are federal prosecutors and FBI agents standing between you and them. Marcus Whitmore III got 18 years for sexual assault, witness tampering, and fraud. Theodore got 23 years for fraud, tax evasion, and racketeering. Marcus Sr., despite his age, got 15 years for his role in the conspiracy. Whitmore Industries was dissolved. Their assets were seized. The family fortune that had been built over 4 generations on the backs of silenced victims and fraudulent practices was gone. Elena recovered. Not all at once. Not easily. But she did recover. She transferred to a victim advocacy nonprofit. She uses her business degree to help other survivors navigate the legal and financial aftermath of assault. She's stronger than they ever could have broken her. 6 months after the verdict, Elena asked me something. We were sitting in my kitchen, drinking tea the way Mama used to make it. "Grandma," she said, "how did you stay so calm? Through all of it? The FBI, the lawyers, the trial. You never seemed scared." I thought about that. "Your great-grandmother taught me something," I said finally. "She taught me that powerful people are only powerful because we forget that power is just a construct. It's money and influence and intimidation. But the truth?" I tapped the table. "The truth is real. The truth is solid. And if you're patient enough, if you're thorough enough, if you document everything and wait for the right moment, the truth is more powerful than any amount of money." "She collected evidence for 43 years, Elena said softly. "She never knew who would need it. She knew someone would. That was enough." "Dorothy called me last week from Boston. Did you see the news?" she asked. 3 more executives from similar companies have been indicted. Prosecutors are using Mama's case as a template. They're encouraging employees to document, to keep records, to be witnesses. I had seen it. Our Mama's legacy, spreading wider than any of us could have imagined. There's a foundation now. The Sarah Chen Foundation for Corporate Accountability. It helps workers document workplace violations, provides legal support for whistleblowers, maintains secure databases of evidence. Elena runs it. She named it after her great-grandmother, the invisible woman who saw everything and forgot nothing. Sometimes I think about those 37 boxes in Dorothy's basement, about all those nights Mama spent carefully copying documents, meticulously organizing evidence, never knowing if it would ever matter, never knowing if anyone would ever see it. But she did it anyway, because she understood something that the Whitmores never did. Patience is a weapon. Documentation is a weapon. The truth, preserved carefully over time, becomes unstoppable. Marcus Whitmore once told Elena that people like us exist to serve people like them. He was wrong. People like us exist to remember, to witness, to document, to wait, and when the time comes, to act. My mother spent 43 years as a cleaning lady, invisible in the corridors of power, but she saw everything they thought no one was watching. She kept everything they thought was safely hidden. And in the end, she brought down an empire. They thought she was just a cleaner. They underestimated her the same way they underestimated Elena, the same way they underestimated every person they hurt over 4 generations. That was their mistake. The truth is the most powerful weapon in the world. My mama taught me that. Patience, documentation, and the truth. That's all you need.